Hello everyone, it's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel and another paper crafting video tutorial. Today we are going to better press our way to beautiful Christmas cards as well as a bonus stenciled and glitter paste tag. So if you love making beautiful Christmas products or you're in the mood to get crafting on Christmas, stay tuned. Today's projects, all feature brand new product from the Pinkfresh Studio August 2024 release. We are going to start with the Pinkfresh Studio Poinsettia frame press plate. And I have placed my press plate right there on the platform. I'm inking it up with some Betterpress black, or pardon me, yes, some Betterpress black archival ink. And I am using some of the cotton card panel, the 8.5 by 11 cut in half. And the reason I'm using such a large piece of paper is that Pinkfresh Studio has created these amazing dies that die cut the shapes. And if you cut it out of an A2 panel, it may not cut correctly. So I just went ahead and used a half sheet of cardstock and used the Betterpress to create the beautiful letterpress effect. While I'm doing that, while I have the Betterpress out, I'm going to go ahead and take the Magical Holiday border image, and we're going to do the same thing, only I'm going to ink it up and run it through the press plate through my Platinum 6 twice so that I can create two borders. You'll notice that on the Betterpress platform, I went ahead and taped it in place so that I could hold it in place very easily while I run it through the machine. So I'm going to flip my cardstock instead of my press plate in this case. I'm using some of the awesome yellow tape from Spellbinders to hold that where I want it to go. I didn't move my press plate, and I am just adding a little bit more ink, and we'll run it through one more time. So I have my platform 6 here and just rolling that right through. I find that I like to do my cards in steps if I am doing multiple. In this case, I didn't want to get my Betterpress out and put it away after each individual card, so I'm just going to go ahead and do all of that work right now. To clean your Betterpress press plates, I like to use the archival stamp cleaner, and then I love the Hero Arts little scrubber to kind of scrub, and then I take a microfiber cloth and clean it. If you add a little water after that, that will clean it up even better. I didn't have water in a spray bottle. That's a new tip that I have recently learned. Next, I have the Radiating Snowflake. So this is gorgeous, and there's a lot of ways you can use this beautiful press plate. There's also stencils and dies, which I will show you the stencil in a little bit. This isn't an open design snowflake, so I think it's really press plate or stencil, or you can use them both and create a really cool background. But it's not made to fill in the snowflake, if that makes sense. I've inked up one of my snowflakes. You can see it's hanging off, and I am using an A2 panel for this one, and it's hanging off the edge. So it's only going to ink up a portion, which is because I want to use the press plate twice on this design. So then I will move the snowflake on my platform here up a little bit. We'll ink it up again. And I am using more of a watermelon reddish color. I think it is called watermelon. We're just going to press that in, and then we will run this through. And this is a great way to use a single image to fill in more space on your background. Look how pretty. Okay, so once we have that, and you can see how beautiful it has letterpressed there, I'm going to place my snowflake panel in a splatter box with a paper towel in the bottom, and I'm taking some worn lipstick Distress Spritz and spritzing my background. I'm going to set that aside to dry for a little bit, and now we are ready to do our layering stencils. First up, I am going to be using the Poinsettia frame stencils with the Pinkfresh Studio inks, and I'm going to start with my color here and start adding in all of those different layers of color. I'm using some small blending brushes. As always, with the Pinkfresh Studio stencils, you know you're going to get amazing and incredible depth and dimension with their layering stencils. I do have a grip mat underneath to kind of help hold it in place. I don't necessarily know that I needed it for this, but I did have it out. I think I put it away after a little bit. These half sheets of cardstock didn't work quite as well as what an A2 would. Okay, then we're going to add our detail to the leaves. As always, layering stencils are fantastic for those who maybe don't love coloring, or even those who do love coloring, but just like a quick and easy option for adding quick color to your stamped or letterpressed images. The other fantastic thing with Pinkfresh Studio is that if you don't have the Betterpress system from Spellbinders, or that's not an investment you'd like to make, you can create very similar cards by stamping the images with the stamp set, or even stamping and embossing those images with the stamp set. There's a lot of ways you can create very similar cards. Even though I am showing the letterpress version, you can always imagine you have stamped it only. Now I decided to go with more pinkish hued poinsettias for this card. Here's a little cherry blossom ink. I will take my mulberry bush here, and I'm going to add a little bit more of a red tone to the berries. So lots of reds and pinks and like sage and eucalyptus colors. That was my color palette for my cards today. And it's looking pretty. Let's take our next stencil and we're going to add that depth and dimension and the next layer of beautiful pink. And I'm going to just double check. Sometimes I like to grab the next stencil just to make sure that I have everything exactly where it goes. We've layered on a little bit more on the berries now. And then we're going to fill in the rest of the berries. Now the berries are pretty close together, so you'll notice that there are a couple of stencils for those. Plus we have the center of our poinsettia. We're going to finish off our florals, and you'll notice there is one additional stencil that I am not going to use over there to the left. If you are creating a background and maybe don't want to use the coordinating die that goes with this poinsettia frame set, you can stencil that background. How amazing is that? Look at that, you guys. So awesome. So I'm going to take the coordinating die and go ahead and die cut this frame. I do want to do a little bit of a different background back behind this one today. And I love how nice and close this cuts it out. And I'll just use a little bit of that yellow tape from Spellbinders again to help hold that in place. Look how beautiful. Isn't that absolutely stunning? Now, I did have to get my Betterpress back out. Remember how I said I don't normally like to? Well, I did for this because I went ahead and went back to an April release product from Pinkfresh. This is one of their plaid press plates. I love both of them. I think there's two. I might be wrong, there might be more. There's a diagonal, this is the straight one, but we're going to build our own plaid background. And I am doing this on an A2 cotton card panel again, and I'm going to run it through, ink it up and run it through one way, and then we're going to ink it up and run it through another so that we have our beautiful custom plaid background that is going to look awesome back behind our poinsettia frame. So I'm going to rotate my press plate here. Just double check, make sure it's in the right position. And we're going to, I did use like a pink color. I believe I used maybe azalea and watermelon, just so it has a little bit more of a two-tone effect, but still very monochromatic. And look at that beautiful custom plaid. I love this, and it looks really cool with a Christmas card. So love, love, love that. Now I am going to go ahead and add a little bit of that worn lipstick distress spritz to these as well. Adds a beautiful little bit of splatter and shimmer to these projects. And what I love about the distress spritz is that it is not full coverage at all. It's definitely just a beautiful spritz and splatter. Okay, next we are going to work on our magical holiday border. And we're going to ink both of these borders at the same time. So whatever I do for one, I will just simply flip my paper and do for the other. You can do cards with one border, two borders, whatever you like here. I just love this. And then I even had an idea, of course, after I did this card of how I would have done it different, as always is the case. But this is literally an amazing little border. I love little borders like this. I can see using this in a lot of fun ways. So again, just going in with our second stencil and adding in that next layer of green. Very much doing this in our mass production, I suppose, type of way. That is the other fantastic thing I think about these Pinkfresh products with the layering stencils. I think they lend themselves very nicely to mass production. So if you are someone who likes to mass produce their Christmas cards, I think this makes it very doable instead of maybe trying to color 50, 60, 100 cards, whatever the case may be. I think that stenciling would be much, much easier if you like to mass produce a great number of cards or even just a few. Oh, it's coming to life. Now, this definitely is much less stenciling than that first one. I kind of kept the big part of the stenciling to that first design, but this one is pretty small and it's pretty quick and easy. And then we've got a little bit darker color here. So I'm using a couple different green combos or whatever because this is a very green or greenery heavy design. With this design, you definitely want to use, and again, I use the Betterpress plate, but it also has a stamp set. So if you don't do the Betterpress and letterpress and things is not for you, you can always, always use the stamp set instead. And now we're adding in the beautiful red and look at that come to life. So pretty. Okay, once we have all of our color, it is time to die cut. And again, it die cuts really nice and close, and you'll see those little skinny areas. They're going to cut those little white spaces in between, which makes it beautiful. So I used the yellow tape to hold that in place. I die cut, and now we are going to create a background for our card. Using the stamp wheel to hold my Nina Smooth White A2 panel in place. This measures 4¼ by 5½ inches. I'm going to go in with a couple of shades of green, Pinkfresh Studio inks, and my blending brush and pull that color most of the way down the panel. This is going to be the background for the magical holiday borders. We're going to place one at the top and one at the bottom and have our sentiment in between. But first, we're going to do one of my favorite techniques of the moment right now, which is creating our own all over text background. That is so easy to do with any sentiment or sentiments that you have in your stash, as well as if you have a background stamp that you want to use. But I love being able to use a single sentiment to create your own backgrounds. So let's get that color all over first. As the color does dry and absorb into the cardstock, it will smooth out a little bit. I'm just taking my time building up the color and intensity of the design here. I think it's going to be really pretty. Look at those borders. Aren't those amazing? Okay, so once I'm happy with this, I'm going to take a stamp block and some of my darker green ink. I want it to be very tone on tone. And I am going to go in at an angle, and you'll notice I am just stamping my greeting. Now, even though it's not super perfect, instead of pitching this panel, we're going to cover up a great portion of it with a couple of borders and a sentiment. So I decided to go ahead and go with it, and I'm glad I did instead of just throwing it away, because it's going to work out and it's not even going to be very noticeable. The other thing is when you're stamping your sentiments like this at an angle, I find it's very forgiving because little imperfections tend to not be quite as noticeable. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in the rest. I am using first and second generation stamping. I'm keeping a lot of that second generation or even maybe third generation stamping to the lighter areas so that it's naturally lighter there. Okay, once we have that, I think that looks good. I am going to trim this up to about 4 by 5 1/4. So it's slightly smaller than A2 sized, and it's going to fit our borders. Our borders are about 5 1/4 inches long. Then I'm going to take foam adhesive and pop one up at the top and one at the bottom. Foam adhesive is magic. I placed foam adhesive back behind both borders and then placed them down on my card panel. I'm going to pop this panel on an A2 side fold card base. This is a landscape style card. And I'm going to set it aside for a minute while I stamp my sentiment. Now I'm going to stamp my sentiment with the beautiful dark green ink, and then I'll die cut it with the coordinating die. There are some Betterpress plates for a lot of the greetings shown in today's video. However, I did opt to use the coordinating Pinkfresh Studio inks to stamp a lot of mine instead of Betterpress, but that's definitely an option and would be gorgeous. I will be popping up my sentiment as well. We're going to use some thin foam adhesive strips for this. Because we've popped up both the top and bottom borders, I definitely think we want to pop up our sentiment as well. And I'm just piecing together those strips to fit behind the delicate greeting. And I was really mindful of which sentiment I chose here. All of the sentiments are great, but I really wanted it to fit in between these two borders. Ah, it looks so pretty. Okay, so same thing. I'm going to go ahead and stamp another greeting. And this time, a very Merry Christmas to you. I stamped this with my darker red. And then I just tested it out to see what I thought in a little bit lighter color. I do go with the lighter color here. And I'm going to die cut that for my Radiating Snowflake card. I actually die cut both of them and then test them both. And the one I end up not using, I'm just going to save for another project. I'm going to position this right on the Radiating Snowflake background like so, popped up with foam adhesive. And again, being very mindful of the background and making it work with those Betterpress Radiating Snowflakes. I'm going to go ahead and decorate my snowflake here, and I am using some Simon Says Stamp Positively Dazzling Clear Gems to give sparkly snowflakes. I purposely picked like a clear product, clear gems or something, just something sparkly to not take away or draw your eye to the specific points in the snowflake, if that makes sense. It's going to be the opposite of the tag I show you here in a minute, but that one will be stenciled and not Betterpress. And I just felt like the clear crystally gems worked better for this card. Super, pretty and elegant was kind of the theme or design for today's video. I am using the embellishment wand to pick up my gems and pop them in place. Okay, once we have that, oh, look at that sparkle. We're going to take a really pretty 1/8 inch pink ribbon from Spellbinders, and I'm going to wrap this around my panel underneath the sentiment about 3 times, ending in the front with my 2 tails, and we're going to tie it into a pretty little bow right here underneath the greeting. And remember, we pop the greeting up with foam, so the ribbon will slightly tuck underneath the rest of that greeting. And I'm going to tie it over here along the right side, kind of where the to you, the Merry Christmas to you ends. And I'm going to fuss with it a little bit. When I get it exactly the way I want it to look, I'll trim up those ribbon tails evenly. I'll also spread out the ribbon along the side so you can see that it's been wrapped around multiple times. And I'm loving the pink and the red. Next, I am going to put foam adhesive all over the back of this panel. It is trimmed down, I believe. Let me see, I might be lying about that. No, it's A2 size. I lied. It is A2 size, but that is going to allow for the ribbon on the back and you won't notice. It won't be lumpy or bumpy when you adhere it to your card base if it's popped up with foam. And I definitely you can see that I put foam on either side of that ribbon on the back, and I put a little glue back behind the bow to hold that in place. We're going to add some of those crystal clear gems to our magical holiday background now so that there's a little sparkle here as well. Just finishing this one up before we move on to our poinsettia frame finish. And then same thing that we did for these 2 cards is what we're going to do for our poinsettia frame. I will be stamping a sentiment from the poinsettia frame on some smooth white cardstock with a Pinkfresh Studio ink, die cutting it with the coordinating die. So we're going to use this I love that little half circle. Isn't that so fun? I just love it. And then you can see the plaid press plate background and how it's muted. I did put a little vellum over that just to mute it really softly. Then I placed the poinsettia frame in place. We're going to die cut the magical holiday greeting with the coordinating die and pop it up right over that. Just like so. So I went ahead and put glue all over the back of my frame, and then I'm taking the vellum to the frame, and it is A2 size. And then I can hide my glue again. I can easily see where to adhere it, and then we're going to take that right to our plaid letterpress background. Vellum is magic. It instantly mutes anything, and I do think in this case it makes the florals pop more, which is the focal point. But I do love that little touch of plaid, and it also makes our sentiment a little bit easier to read than I think if I hadn't added the vellum. We'll pop up that with foam. Trying to figure out exactly where I want that to go. I like that. And then we also will add those crystal clear gems to this card as well. Before we make the tag, let's take a look at the finished card designs. Magical Holiday. Oh, look at that beautiful border. And of course, our gorgeous radiating snowflake. Okay, so the radiating snowflake, as I mentioned earlier, has a beautiful stencil. So I'm going to take my Pinkfresh Studio ink and I'm going to start inking this up. This is an awesome option. If you guys have been here for any amount of time, you know that tags, specifically holiday tags, but really all tags, are my favorite thing to make. And so I am going to make some gift tags with this. And what I think is so fantastic about this radiating snowflake, you can see how gorgeous it is for cards. Look how amazing it's going to be for gift tags as well. So I decided to go ahead and do a couple of them. I am inking these up just on some Hammermill cardstock. And what we're going to do is we're going to just, I made two of them exactly the same. That's probably mostly what I would do if I was doing this for gift packaging. I would ink them to match my gift packaging, and then we're going to die cut this with the coordinating die, which we didn't use for our card. And then we're going to die cut two additional snowflakes from smooth white cardstock to use as the back. What we're going to do is glue these snowflakes back to back, and the solid white is going to be a perfect spot to stamp a greeting or to handwrite a message if you want to. If you wanted it to be more of an ornament, you could put these two back to back on your card instead of having a smooth white one on the back. And that way, either way you see it, like if it's hanging on a tree or something, it will have the beautiful decoration. Now, I did place this on my stamp wheel, and then I cleaned my stencil, placed it back over the radiating snowflake, and applied some of the beautiful snowfall grit paste from Tim Holtz over the top. So it's going to be sparkly pink. Um, in real life, it has beautiful texture and sparkle to it. This is one of my favorite things to do. And the stencil is going to add, it makes it so easy to add that to your design, even if you were doing this more for a card. So now I decided I wanted to stamp a phrase on the back of each of my solid snowflakes, more like a gift tag. I went ahead and did that, and then I'm just going to add some liquid glue to this and place the sparkly snowflake on top. Just want to make sure that I get them lined up exact and then let that dry. Isn't that so pretty? These just make amazing tags. And again, make them in any color that matches your gift packaging. They're going to be absolutely incredible. And there's two. You can see that these would be really quick and easy and a great way to make gift tags. Now, they're beautiful the way they are, but I wanted to kind of, embellish them up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is go through with my glue press and add beads of glue all the way around. And this time I'm taking some lipstick red jewels, and I am going to embellish the little circle or little dot areas of my snowflake just like so. So the snowflake themselves are shades of pink with that beautiful sparkle over the top, but now they have that touch of red to them. And the red to me just really brings them to life. And I'm not done with the red for these. We're going to add red ribbon and red twine to finish them off. I'm just really loving pink and red this year. I don't know what it is. Each year I feel like it's a thing. We'll see what it ends up being for me, but I'm really, really loving that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do that for the second snowflake as well. And then I'm taking a crocodile and I'm going to punch a hole. And I'm not punching it at the very tip top. I'm kind of coming down just a little bit so that it's nice and secure. You could add an eyelet if you wanted to. I'm going to take some Lawn Fawn red twine now and thread that through the top. That's going to be my hanger. The Lawn Fawn twines are amazing. They're nice and thin. They're come in the rainbow, which makes me so happy. And there we go. Oh, okay. As pretty as this is, look at this ribbon, you guys. We're going to create a 1.5-inch bow using this bow making tool. You can see I'm holding it with my left hand and doing a figure 8 around those legs. Then I take it through the center, and then there's creates a little loop. You're going to pull that second end through that loop, and then you're going to pull it tight. And I generally like to pull my tails kind of to the back here. Pull tight around those tongs of our little bow making tool, and then slide it down and off. And the 1.5 makes the perfect, cutest little bow that we can then glue to the top of our snowflake. I am addicted to making these perfect bows. These bow tools are amazing. They're designed by my friend Chantal, and you can pick them up from her site or also from Fat Quarter Shop, which I love, and I will have a link in the description. And you can make them in several sizes. Of course, I'm making the 1.5, so I'm going to make this one, I've sped it up a little bit. We're going to make the other one a little quicker. This ribbon is from Spellbinders. It comes in so many colors, and I am addicted to it, you guys. It is absolutely incredible. It's my favorite. Now, I am going to trim up the ends of my ribbon into some cute little fishtail ends, and we're going to take one final look at all of the projects, all 4 projects today. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this video showcasing Betterpress for Christmas using the Pinkfresh Studio August 2024 release. The supplies I used to create my projects are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye!